I am thrilled now to welcome our Chiefs writer at The Athletic, my longtime friend.
Yes,
hey, Taylor.
sir.
How you doing, buddy?
I am great, man.
We're doing this a lot.
We're back, man.
We're back. Last year was just like a weird off year, but now the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl. I do want to talk about that, but I want to start by going back to the beginning of this season, okay?
All right.
So I was talking with Bo and Zach about the chat that I had with Bo during training camp.
Oh, okay.
I don't go to Chiefs training camp as part of my training camp tour for multiple reasons, but mostly it's very remote and it's very hard to get anywhere else. So you and I did not talk before training camp. What were your feelings about this team heading into the season and your expectations for them? Be honest.
Yeah, I love this question because, and just for context, like it takes me an hour and a half to get from Kansas City to where they are,
Yes.
which is usually like St. Joseph, Missouri. It's a 2-hour every day, got to drive up and down, got to see what's going on with the team. My interpretation was that, okay, this is a transition year. Like this is a year
I think that's a fair representation.
where it's like, okay, I know the Chargers are probably the dazzling pick, the shiny pick in the division. I sort of said, hey, like, you know, Khalil Mack, that's a real dude. All right, J.C. Jackson, that's a real dude. They have a bunch of rookies. And so a lot of training camp for me was about just rookie report, obviously seeing how Mahomes is going to operate with these new receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. You know, it was fun to watch Travis Kelce every day, but it's like he can't just throw it to him every game from here moving forward. And there was a love affair with Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
And so I did a feature on him pretty early, and I said, okay, there might be something there. I can sort of see what the scouts saw. I can sort of understand what the coaching staff is trying to tell me and trying to get him to understand. But I just thought, man, this is a transitional year. 10-7, that would be an accomplishment. Hey, getting to the postseason, major ups. Hey, like if you win the division, that will be really a tale of how great Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are and having really consistency in terms of the coaching staff, right? Steve Spagnuolo, been there a long time. Eric Bieniemy's been the offensive coordinator since Mahomes has been the starter in 18. I think in our predictions, I think I said like 11-6 or 12-5, and I just said, hey, like it'll be either between them and the Chargers to win the division, but like it's a transitional year. Like just help these rookies, these newcomers, get an idea of what it's like to play on a contending team, and then 2023 will be the real like loaded up. All right, now they're ready to go for another Super Bowl.
And here we are.
Yep.
And now that the Chiefs logo is back on every single thing that we're looking at, every banner in this entire fucking city. You talk about the rookies on defense. You talk about the new pass catchers. What were you most worried about depressing their ceiling a little bit?
Marquez Valdes-Scantling was basically their replacement for Tyreek Hill. They signed him, or he agreed to join the team the day after they traded Tyreek Hill. And you're like, okay, Andy Reid always wants a speed guy. MVS is a speed guy. But can they have the explosive plays downfield consistently? You know Mahomes is going to extend the pocket. You know he's going to do wild stuff, you know, out of the framework or the structure of the play. But it was just like, can they get chunk plays consistently when it doesn't involve Travis Kelce? And then on the defense, it's can they cover anybody?
Yeah.
Like, hey, Juan Thornhill, like, quality player. Justin Reed comes over. He's from the Houston Texans. Like, okay, I can kind of see what they want, interchangeable safeties, but, like, you wouldn't put them at the top 10 tandems of you know, safety looks. They were leaning heavily on these, you know, young players in Nick Bolton and Willie Gay. The coaching staff was basically like, we need Chris Jones to be, like, all-world. And so you're like,
Check.
So he did that pretty clearly. And then it's like, okay, well, can Frank Clark bounce back? Can Carlos Dunlap still have enough in year 13? Can George Karlaftis be competent, serviceable as a rookie pass rusher, which is hard to do when you're not picked in the top 10, right?
Yes.
Like when you're picked at 30 to be a starting pass rusher, you're like, that's asking a lot.
Very rarely do those guys hit the ground running. Like,
Yes.
you think about the guy I would compare that to is the guy that the Ravens essentially took with the Orlando Brown pick the year before.
Yes.
Even if there are flashes, that guy's not going to be somebody who's affecting the game consistently.
So who are their playmakers outside of Chris Jones? And, you know, again, can Frank Clark hold up for an entire season? And then you get to the cornerbacks and you're like, well, L'Jarius Sneed's really good.
You were an early L'Jarius Sneed guy.
I loved L'Jarius Sneed.
You were a very early L'Jarius Sneed guy. You deserve a lot of credit for that.
L'Jarius Sneed's really good.
Yes.
Other teams have 3 receivers, though. He can't cover everybody. So Trent McDuffie was their first pick in the draft, and you thought, okay, like, he's got the footwork, he's got the fluidness, he can operate in man and zone. Okay, they were surprised that he even fell to them in the draft. And then you just say, like, man, Spags, Steve Spagnuolo's going to have to blitz and do some weird stuff and some funky stuff and just hope you get some turnovers. But I thought this defense was going to be like, again, a lot of Chiefs fans are like, can you just be average? Because the offense is going to be top 10 as long as Mahomes is obviously effective, playing most games. But my early thought was, man, this team is this is fascinating because it's so many established guys, but it's so many young guys. And it's like, can you have the perfect blend of youth and experience? Or is that going to be sort of a thing that sort of fractures? Are there silos between the two sort of groups? But they figured it out really, really quickly.
When do you think you really understood that they had hit something with this construction of the team and that your expectations for them might have even been a little low?
So I'll walk people through this. I knew they were going to beat the Cardinals on opening day. Andy Reid does not lose on opening day. Like, that just doesn't happen.
He's had like 6 months to get ready.
Yeah, I felt bad for Cliff Kingsbury because I'm like, they're going to come here and they're going to wipe the floor. And, like, you knew Mahomes in camp was very motivated by the fact that, like, well, what are you going to do without Tyreek Hill? How's it going to look? How's it going to feel? Like, I don't know if it's going to work with Juju Smith-Schuster or Marcus Valdes-Scantling. I was not worried about week 1. I knew he was going to be motivated. They were going to have an excellent game plan. They were going to win that game. The issue was the schedule said, well, in 4 days, you have to play the Chargers, who are also probably going to win their first game. That happened. And I just thought, like, man, well, this is a real early test for this team. And then Jalen Watson, their 7th-round pick, had the game-winning interception and did a pretty good job on Mike Williams, of all people. And I said, like, okay, if that's a 7th-round pick and they've coached him to be, an equal player to a guy that is really high in the receiving position skill set, okay. And then it's just they don't make a ton of mistakes. I think that's the thing that the coaching staff really had the rookies prepared for. Like, they don't make a ton of mistakes. They were actually pretty good in terms of not giving up the explosive play on defense, letting people have to go down the field, having them have to matriculate down the field. And then I just thought, like, okay, how good is Mahomes going to be? How good can he do it in a 4-day turnaround with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa chasing him? And he was excellent. He was excellent the second half, to the point that they're running out and up routes to Justin Watson, who is the 5th receiver, 6th receiver.
And he's burning J.C. Jackson in the process. Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay. Well, like, they're okay. They won that game. They're 2-0, and it's like, okay, they might be better than even I anticipated or than a lot of people anticipated. And then you just saw little by little Mahomes in the pocket, just the best.
Yeah.
Mahomes extending plays, the best. Mahomes in, like, not advantageous situations, 3rd and long. They're still the best offense in the league, and you just sit there, and I felt bad for Tom Brady when they played the Buccaneers in, like, October in a Sunday night game, and they just went right down the field. And I was like, but this was the same team that like, sort of showed everybody how to defend them. And now they've graduated to another level of, like, you think you want to take this away, we're going to do this. And they could run the ball better now this time than a year ago. Obviously, part of that is Isaiah Pacheco, but they got more production out of the rookies faster than I think they anticipated, and then that production mostly remained stable and it just kept growing. So when you have a coaching staff and a scouting department that can say, look, these guys are worth it. We just need you to help bring them along as a veteran, whether it's Kelsey, whether it's, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, obviously Patrick Mahomes. And then those guys see the rookies produce in the first month of the season. Now there's real bonds, there's real relationships, and now it's coaches and players saying, like, okay, we can do something with these young guys. It's just a matter of can they do it consistently over a 17-game season, and that proved to be the case. They lost to the Bills in a close game. They lost to the Bengals in a close game, but they've been pretty much a surefire contender since they beat the Buccaneers in early October.